Were you doing watercolors like this while you were a student?
No,
No,
no, they
they
were
came
they were
later.
kind of dark
Mm-hmm.
and pastel. But then as I evolved, then that sort of became real loud colors, and now they're just getting. And also, yeah,
Tell us about the iconography. I see Woody Woodpecker at the bottom there.
that's Woody Woodpecker, and then you have a hand to the right. That's that red thing. It's like a little fist holding a big toothbrush.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this kind of tulip, purple tulip that goes down and turns into this kind of little jet with a little weirdo flying a jet. And then above all of that is a wedding ring, engagement ring on the top. And then there's Woody Woodpecker down there. And, there's a spider web that's by the red hand. And that's all I can say
So
about that.
you must like surrealism.
Yeah, I always like surrealism. Yeah.
The Exquisite Corpse, you're familiar with that, obviously.
Yeah, but I didn't really think I was doing that. But that's what people would say. It was like things would try to mutate or change from one thing into another. Like you would, I couldn't keep it as a toothbrush because otherwise it would be like pop, where it would be a giant toothbrush.
Mm-hmm.
So to be different, I want to change it into something else. So it's almost like you're driving down a road, but you're thinking all these other thoughts. So you're in a car, but you're thinking
It's like
about
the way the
something
mind
else.
works, which is, in a sense, what the surrealists were trying to get at. The way the mind works, how one idea morphs into another, and you literally visualize that for us.
Yeah, you could be brushing your teeth and thinking about Mickey Mouse, or what you're going to be doing in the morning. So it's like, well, why not draw what you're doing in the office in the bubble of a toothbrush? Is that's what you're thinking when you're brushing your teeth?
Absolutely.
So that way it wouldn't become like a big pop.
You didn't want to, as I say, you didn't want to imitate Oldenburg. You wanted
Yeah, I
to
didn't
do your
want to
own
do
thing.
that Oldenburg or Wesselman. They've done all that stuff. Well, what can I do? But then, that's what I did.
Okay, now this was one of your first, maybe your first real large-scale, room-scale installation. You did this in Dallas.
Uh-huh.
And you called it Hello, Goodbye,
Hello, Goodbye, right.
after the
that.
Beatles song, I presume?
After that Beatles song.
Mm-hmm.
And what's strange about that, this was the last show I had. I showed with DW for years, 8 years or more.
In Dallas.
In Dallas. This was when on Deep Elm. And what was weird about this whole installation, the Wolf was shown this right across from Hello, Goodbye. And this is
You're talking about Academy Award, a piece that's in
Academy
the show.
Award,
We'll see that in a minute.
So the director came up to me and she said, I want to tell you, this is the last day of the gallery. They shut it down that night.
Oh, they closed the gallery?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I thought that was kind of weird that it was called, I entitled it Hello, Goodbye before I knew any of that. And she said, oh, by the way, we're closing down in a month. And they were been existing for like 15 years.
Tell us about the imagery.
And then that's a hand turning the switch off or on, however you want to see that. There's a big anchor or a little hook. There's a upside down toilet, and so he puts the switch and it sends off this little explosion. You have Dean Martin with a glass and those buzzards again from the Warner Brothers, and then you have How to Draw a Monster on the top of the wall from Big Daddy Ed Roth. He says they have kids how to draw a monster. So I found this drawing of how to draw a monster from the 60s. So you start over here with a 0 and it evolves into the little monster face. So that's basically all the imagery. And then you have like a headlight, a peace sign, and a little explosion.
Everything but the kitchen sink, as they used to say, right? Okay. All right. Now, this is from Zoe's room with a couple of details, but of course the work was first introduced in 1987. A really important work in your overall body of work called Academy Award. And we've got a couple of details there, so in this one we can really talk about what you do with detail. But first tell people a little bit about the different parts that make up this character.
Okay, it's a wolf, directly taken from one of the Warner Brother cartoons. I forget the name of the artist. Tex Avery is the artist. And he did this wolf. He had great wolves. So
actually, he himself got nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah. He was from Texas.
Or maybe he even won it, I think, for this character.
Oh, yeah, he was from Texas, up north, Texas. And so that's the wolf, and then there's a big amoeba to the right, the lower left, that blue-green spot that came from a biology book, and then you have a motor that I got from a motor magazine, in his mouth, and then there's the little Mexican cartoon character from a Mexican comic, and then there's a hand holding.
And that's the Academy Award?
That's the Academy Award. That's the Oscar.
What's that tomato doing there at the upper left?
Well, I always would put, like nature things.
But isn't it like the rotten tomato?
Yeah, that's what people were telling me.
Yeah.
There was like someone threw a tomato at him. I never thought about that, but I always did just nature things. So you got to put some nature in.
And then you've got this upside down figure there at the left. What's going on there?
Well, that came from a Mad magazine of a woman walking through a plate glass window. Totally, she's like lost, and she just has this package.
By this time, you were collecting, obviously, magazines?
You could find tons of Mad magazine paperbacks at half-price books. And, you could buy them for nothing. I would just collect them all, and I would just cut them out, cut all the little bitty, make little collages, and that was one of the little things I would, and then I would enlarge them. And then there's a little fish. That's a actual prehistoric fish by the woman that's down there. That's actually from a biology book. That's a real creature. And then there's a foot. And on the heel of the foot, on the bottom, I always do the bottoms of shoes. And then there's Jimi Hendrix. So you have Jimi Hendrix, and then you have Michael Jackson's glove. And so you have those two.
It's like a big
worlds.
gumbo of pop visual culture all mixed together.
But you know what's weird is that he's a motor mouth. That's why he has a motor in there. I didn't think about that till after I did. I said, well, that's not a big motor mouth.
Now, tell us about the details, because not only do you mix and match, all this diverse imagery from all these varied sources, and paint them in these very extreme psychedelic colors, but then you provide these little scenes within scenes.
Yeah, vignettes.
It's like Alice through the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
What's going on in the eye there of the Oscar character, the monster? What's going on in his eye?
It's like, okay, you have the little Oscar character. I try to make them look like pink chrome. And then in the eye is like an explosion, and there's these mice or rats that are kind of exploding in his head. That's what you see in the little mouse hole, his eyeball. And then down at the motor mouth part, that's a Vishnu. And then part of the engine becomes the little Vishnu scene, but also apes in the tree scene. So you have two scenes at once. It's just like you're daydreaming. You're thinking these thoughts, and you're looking at something. It's like you're looking in the sky, and you're imagining these things.
Now, tell us about the plaid background that you chose for Zoe's room, and also I think you wanted to thank some people. Maybe you could do it at this time.
I did that plaid, and all that painting I did. I didn't do all the painting in the walls. I did a lot of it, but had a lot of help, and I want to thank these people that helped me, because that was a lot of work, a lot of patience, and especially like that plaid wall. I had a lot of people work on. I had several people work on that, but the people that helped me for this installation was Mario Perez, Tim Forster, Nathan Warner, Sonia Garcia, Tyler Lewis, Leona Skolhans, Kia Dorman, and Joe Diaz all helped me paint and install.
It was pretty labor intensive.
It was labor intensive. That wall itself took days to do. And,
now tell us about the plaid itself, and thank you all for your help.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate the museum giving me this opportunity to do this show, because it really
it's our pleasure and our privilege.
Revitalized my interest in my own work.
So tell us why you chose the plaid.
Well, I always did the plaid because I always wanted to do fine art. I wanted to do people, he says, like Piet Mondrian is fine art.
Oh, you were referencing modernism.
Exactly. That's what I thought about. It's like,
but what about the other part? Didn't you say something at one point about the children's bedroom?
Yeah.
You don't remember? Okay. Well,
I don't remember
I know at one point you talked about that. What kind of wallpaper would you find in a child's bedroom?
Yeah, you could find that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe it's less important to you than it was while you were painting it. But anyway.
Well, no, yeah, it's playful, and you could put it in the kids' room.
It's interesting because it references both high art and low art.
That's what I liked about it. You can make it really high art by the way you paint it with the colors, a beautiful color. But it's also funky because it's a plaid.
Right.
And I like plaid. Plaid goes with mad.
Okay. Okay.
Can you imagine?
Now this one's not in Zoe's room, but this is another great early work. Kool-Aid Mind Canal.
Kool-Aid Mind Canal.
1988. That that sort of trapezoidal form reminds me of the Mad Magazine mirror that we just saw in the last piece a little bit, and then you've got your familiar heel of the foot. Tell us about this piece and the iconography.
Oh, that's supposed to be the rectangular shape right in the center. Is supposed to be a mirror.
Right, like it was in the other one.
And the mirror is cracked open, and this crack that's down the center is like a canal. And out of this canal of this mirror comes all this stuff. And
kind of like Pandora's box.
It's like Pandora's box, but inside it's an actual box I built. It's about this thick. And in that box, I did a portrait of this kind of little another surfer, but you can't see him unless you actually see the real piece. He's in the box. So there's actual creature in the box. So you have another amoeba-shaped red, and then you have a book of high learning or whatever book. And then you have the graduate. Now the wolf has graduated. He has a graduation cap. I like that graduation cap. And then you have the steering wheel to the left up here. Then you have this atomic form, these three forms, they're little atomic balls that are supposed to be circling around at the bottom. Then you have the big foot, and that's when I first drew my first Jerry Lewis.
Oh, yeah,
logo.
Jerry Lewis is on that foot, you're right.
Jerry Lewis was my favorite.
Why
as a
Jerry
kid.
Lewis? Oh, I'm sorry, you were going to tell us.
Yeah, because he was my favorites as a kid in the movies. I would see all the movies.
Can you name all his movies?
No, I can remember. Let's see. What would be one? Jerry Lewis. What would be one?
Well, Cinderfella.
Cinderfella. Yeah, Cinderfella. And then there was the jerk, and then there was the one who he worked in the store and he tore everything up. It was just.
Anyway, he's definitely one of your pop heroes.
He's just out there.
Okay, this one is Roman Monkey.
Roman Monkey.
From the same period. It looks almost like jigsaw puzzle pieces there at the bottom. But again, you're going to have to tell us what's going on because it's that complicated.
Well, it's a monkey, and he's holding up a little hat. And that's supposed to be Napoleon's hat. And in Napoleon's hat, you have the little Bambi up there, kind of the upper left, and the whole of the hat. To his right, below his that blue area, that's his nose. That's the monkey's nose. And then you have the Wrigley Spearmint Gum character. That I kind of ripped off. And he's kind of tied up in a chain. Then you have the bowling ball image again, motif there, the little red circles, the bowling ball. Within the bowling ball, you see robots. And then there's a big purple tongue again, like that's his body. Below, it's supposed to be like a bamboo cage.
And how long did it take you to make a piece like that?
About a month or a little more than a month. That wasn't that large, but they take about at least a month for sure to do something like that. And that's just painting it. And it's hard for me to stay with it all day, so I kind of break up.
And again, you're making a lot of drawings in the process?
Yeah, I have to get all the images first.
Do you make a maquette first of some kind, or?
Now, at this point, I didn't make maquettes.
You weren't making them yet?
I would just collect the images, cut them out into a collage, draw them, move them around, and then enlarge them with an overhead projector, and then project them on a piece of wood, and then cut out those shapes. Now I do maquettes, because they get a little more elaborate, and I can play around with them more when they're paper. I can bend them and stuff.
Okay, this work, of course, is in Zoe's room because you see the pattern behind it. But it was first created in the late 80s. It's called Anvil Supreme.
Yeah, Anvil Supreme. Because it really wasn't, I thought the anvil was the anchor. He's really holding an anchor. But I confused anchor and anvil.
And that's how it became Anvil Supreme?
Yeah, that's how it became Anvil. It should have been Anchor Supreme, but it was supposed to be Anvil.
Just a matter of semantics.
Anvil, anchor, whatever.
Right. They're both A words.
They're both A words, and they have to do with
tell us what's going on in that piece.
Well, that is another rip-off there. So that was that little character from Big Daddy Ed Roth, but so I wouldn't get sued. I had to change it. So that's why I changed these things. So it's a character Ed Roth made up, but I changed it to the point where his body became plaid, and he has his little ear. And it's a portrait, really. It's a face. That's all it is. It's a head of a creature with an arm raised holding an anchor. And in the anchor, he has a wheel that's on fire. Now, the reason I did that wheel on fire, because I remember in the 80s, they'd have in South Africa all these burning tires on TV.
During apartheid.
During apartheid, they would have all these riots, and one of the things they would use, they were poor, they would burn tires. So that was like a little, that was a little thought I had, a little burning tire.
Have you often been influenced by what's going on, say, politically around the world?
Yeah,
like
I
that?
think, yeah, well, yeah, I don't, yeah, sometimes, and I'm not like real specific, but it's just one of the many things that get thrown in there. You know, there's going to be a plaid, there's going to be something I saw on TV, maybe the burning tire of apartheid.
Do you watch the news a lot?
Yeah, I always watch news. Watch news and makeovers, plastic surgery. Don't ask. I think it has something to do, I don't know why. Or anything else. So if I see it, I'll put it in there. It's something that I get concerned with.
There's really no limit to what can go into a John Hernandez.
Yeah, I can just, whatever I can fit in there. If I'm really interested in that image, it'll get in there. And it can be political, it can be cartoon.
This one, I think, has been shown a lot throughout your career. Trojan Bath.
Uh-huh.
I love, again, that big shoe, and
The
that
big
kind of reminds
shoe.
me of the Keep on Truckin' posters, you know, the Grateful Dead. And
Uh-huh.
that was an influence on you, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, I like Art Crumb, and I didn't think about that when I did the shoe, the big foot, but I always do feet. And I do feet, and they always tend to be that, I don't know why I do feet, I like the shape. That just happened to be one of the,
Again,
it's like a base of
tell
the
us
piece.
about the imagery, what's in there, and what it means.
Okay, so anyway, it started out, the shape, I just kind of make this shape, and this was sort of like a little swastika. It turned into a little swastika shape, and sort of like a propeller, but turned swastika. And then within this foundation of the swastika shape, you have the foot. You know, of course, I couldn't do a straight out swastika. I didn't want to do that. So this swastika shapes became other things. One of the swastika things became a foot. The other one became like that hammer and sickle. The other one became a hand holding a Coke can. The other one became an arm of some little bird arm. And then the center of it is the little head with a Roman helmet. And then he has some little body that's part of a little duck in a pond and a little ship. So, you know, and he's smoking a cigarette. So it sort of just kind of grows on its own, because I can't just do, you know, if I'm going to do an image of a cigarette, the cigarette has to be something else, has to become something else. So it's almost like these things change into other things. So I don't want to be like, in your face, this is what it is. It's just something that, it's like its own little world. These things change into other things.
And the meaning of this piece for you?
I called it Trojan Bath. I guess the Trojan had to do with that soldier, because that's the soldier.
Right.
He has a Roman helmet. So, and he's crushing the Coke can. Whatever a Coke can symbolizes to you, within that Coke can is a cheerleader. So with whatever that symbolizes to you, that's what it's going to be. So
You like it to be open-ended.
yeah, like it'd be open-ended. But yeah, I mean, you know, if it has a soldier and it has some kind of military little theme in there, you know, because it does have the hammer and sickle. I don't know why I chose that to turn that into that, but it just became that. And it's about power, maybe. I would say power. And he's smoking a cigarette. He's looking at you.
While Rome burns.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, you've also invented a number of creatures. We see a number of the creatures in Zoe's room. These are two of them, two very different formats. Tell us first, I guess, about Dino, and then about, is it Scrimp?
That's a little shrimp.
A shrimp. Okay.
Shrimp.
Tell us about these.
Okay, Dino came from when I went to a dentist's office, and they had a coloring book of how to color in a little dinosaur. It says, drink your water or milk for the little kids, so keep your gums healthy. So I took that from them, and I made into this little dinosaur that I wanted to make look like a galaxy. His body's like a galaxy. So that's a little dino, little dinosaur, and it's on a little splash. And I just like the idea, this real innocent little image, but it was so bizarre because it had one eyeball, and it had a big bow, and I like doing big bows on things. Because to me, a bow represents something.
What does it represent?
like a little girl, a little sweet thing,
Uh-huh.
a bow.
Okay.
Little girls they have put bows on girls'
Of
heads.
course, of course. Big
So I
girls
try to
do.
put bows on a lot of things
Uh-huh.
because
And
that kind of like
the other, the shrimp creature?
it's kind of like a little joke, huh?
The shrimp creature, where'd that
The
come
shrimp
from?
is it's just something from biology books. I like biology a lot as a kid, and so I tend to want to do little images of insects, biology, nature. It's another nature theme, and if I can change it into something else, yeah, and so it becomes like this alien little creature. Now these I just did. These were just little pieces I made.
Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about your little miniature sculptures, because we have a lot of them in the exhibition. And these are both in the exhibition, Harvest and Little Big Mac.
Little Big Mac.
How'd they come about? How'd where did these ideas come from? What materials did you use?
Well, I don't know. I know how they came about. All these reliefs, most of them have little vignettes within them, painted and actual. Now, a lot of these, if you look at them, you can find little toys in them. You have to look at the side of these reliefs, and you'll see a little toy.
You're talking about in your larger reliefs.
In the larger reliefs, you'll see little toys in there, little scenes.
Right.
And a lot of the things of the 80s, I had little scenes inside, so actual toys within the reliefs. I would have a little city or a little man running or whatever. And so I got the idea that I would just build sculptures of those little sculptures. So they were sort of like, they played a part in the reliefs. Say like in a movie, you have a little actor that plays a small role. So these were like the little
bit players?
Yeah, they were like the bit players of the relief. So I just made them stand on their own. They became